Hello. This
Welcome.
is a modern mystic conversation that we're having with Natasha Lee Freudenstein and myself, Megan Catherine. And if you're looking for stuff, if you look for Rainbow Sutra, is that right? What's your handle on YouTube?
Rainbow Sutra.
Doesn't have a dash or a thingy or a nothing.
I remember.
Rainbow Sutra. All right. And mine, of course, Megan Catherine Enlightenment. Or put that into anything, and that's where you'll find me. Okay, so let's have a conversation. And it was really hard to kind of pick a subject, or we didn't want to just randomly go, oh, let's pick a subject and be really brainiacy about what we know. We want to go 5D flow and see what's new and what wants to come through and what's that kind of momentum and channel. Got a headache, so something's trying to find its way through.
Yeah, because we sat here and we usually, before we do one of these things, we will like drop into the energy and things like that. And I was doing that, and then Megan's like, I can't connect, I can't drop in, I need to. So she put her hand on the table and I had to hold her hand. And so she had to feel the energy of what was going on. And she said she could feel prickles and tingles and swirls, and her other hand was doing other things.
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. And as I was sitting here, my head was bobbing around doing whatnot, and thoughts and things were coming into my head. And I kind of got the sort of, what can we, like, because we asked, what can we bring forth? And I had the kind of some words of something along the lines of, can you please give us the words and the energy to convey of what is right and true right now for those who are willing and waiting on the ascension path? And we sat in that energy. And then we started speaking about communication, words, language, energy exchange, all of those sorts of things. And like, words are the human language. We've brought all the energy aspects down into a frequency of our sound through our throat and our body, and language through our brain to make sense of what we're told these things mean. And so it's like a slow process for some of us to actually bring words to the energies and things like that. So we're just flowing and going how we normally do in the energy, and hopefully that energy is conveyed to you in this moment of how we actually operate, and trusting in the energy that we
just trust my energy. I just thought you need to get that ring out of your eyebrow, out of your eyeglasses, but I don't know if it's gonna. There you go. Look, oh, sort of. There.
That's okay.
Oh well.
Going
made us darker
and flowing in the energy, because there's a lot more to communication than words. And it's like our bodies have been switched off a lot about like not letting in feelings and things, because we've been hurt, we've been traumatized, we've gone through a lot, we've blocked, we've been scared. And so we've relied on the word and the power of the word for a long time. But then Megan was just saying, it's
having a conversation on the phone yesterday with a friend, and we went into wherever we went to. And she was saying that she's being very careful with her words, where she's sort of looking to manifest some changes and some things. So she's been very careful with her words. And it was her that kind of brought up that, the power of our word. And the conversation went wherever it all went, and all the different things, nothing to really do with that, but it was because we then came back to, and I said, oh, when you were mentioning the power of words and that sense of feeling and revert what this is why we feel we want to sing or make sounds, or we want to hear ourselves process what's in our brain. We're literally taking it into an energy field and putting it around us. But what wanted to come through then for the conversation with her and sort of now was to flip this and to sort of go, when we think of the power of the words, our brain hijacks it because we think of words, we think of that languaging, we think of that written stuff, and yet really it's the words of the power. So we really want to get into the power connection, because that spirit connection, source connection, your power, your spiritual power, whatever it might be, your signature self can come through with new information or clarified information, which may just come as an image in your third eye or in your sleep, in a lucid moment in your sleep, might come in using this environment and turning up as synchronized thingies or people saying stuff. Spirit doesn't just use words, but it's this power, and it's the words that come from that power, and the power is behind that word. So we had a conversation yesterday, and I said, it's interesting because I'm getting that sense that I could say something and I would say it in English, and it depended on where I was and how I was as far as my energetic makeup and, frequencies and things would go as to what was being conveyed behind that or with that. Another person could say it who's, going through a lot of crap or has not, ascended to a certain level. Are they coming from the same power? They might in a certain moment, but a lot of the time are their words coming from different energy behind. So what is the power behind the words? Where is this coming from? What is the energy of it? Is it really connected to a higher energy form, or is it connected to something that is sort of dampening and, destroying and limiting and whatever, conditioning, et cetera, et cetera. And it was even this thing where, because we're also individualized and we are this sort of signature of, we have our own fractal signature that we're really trying to align back up to. That's the point of ascension, and getting our sense of source to really flow as us not limiting ourselves from that. We need to let this kind of new communications come through, hence heading towards telepathing, hence holding hands, touching energy in, heart to heart stuff. And so it even got me speaking like with the whole sense of, the power of the heart, and reversing that, the heart of the power. We're connecting into the heart of the power. This is sort of what we do when we enter our heart, when we open up the flow, And so it was just even the signature of the power. I am the signature of the power, not the power of the signature. Although the power of the signature, when I think about the matrixy world, wow, where has that been taken? You know what I mean? Like supposedly, and I don't know. It's just like, what is the conveyance energetically? How much of that is clear, and how much of that is in growth or destruction? How much of that is an energy that is uplifting or not? You know what I mean? And that's before you even get into, obviously humans convey a lot of things that we pick up from each other that might be body language or tonal language, the way our faces appear, whatever. Same thing can be said, and it can come across differently based on just that stuff. But what about if it's said with energetic stuff that is happening that you're not even aware of? You're not conscious of your energy. And that's the ascension process, to get really conscious of your energy and to allow that expanded consciousness to drop into the body. The body needs to change to accommodate that. So that power I'm getting sits in our DNA right now. It's in that, that power is, and that's why if you open up your DNA, you activate this sort of body functions in your cells and these connections. Yeah.
No wonder I did that just before we started hitting record.
When we got stupid and we were like, what are we going to say? Let's just look at people. And she's doing that.
And Megan goes, oh, the DNA. And I'm like,
yeah.
So there's all.
I forgot what I was saying.
So there's method in everything that we do. See, the word of the energy came through with the power. Came through, and then now Megan's bringing the words about the power lies in the DNA, and when we open up the DNA, that's where you're going.
So when we open that up, we feel energy, we feel changes, we feel movements, we may even have glimpses of past, present, future understandings, or what the limitations are, or we just start to get to this point where there's this expansion, and you just got to sit in the power, right? Sit in the energy. But over time, words will come. But if you start looking for words first, I meditate to look for, tell me the words, you're not going to get there, or you can get there, but eventually you'll hit a point where that no longer works. Yes. Jinx. I don't play that game anymore. No, I'm like, high five, we're on level.
Yes.
but
in sync.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, in that sense of sitting in the power. And like, what about the power sitting in you?
And that whole, we were looking for words to give people on a subject and a topic, and yet we had to actually go into the power in order for the words. I think you just said that, and I think I just really
That's okay. That's okay. Because
feel it in me.
You had to hear your voice say it.
Reverberation.
Yeah.
And it's this thing that wants to come out, and it's like, this is why processing and having a spiritual buddy to talk this stuff, someone who will let you go really far, wide and crazy, right, to explore, is so important, because it actually helps you process. It helps you get where you need to go. And I was recently speaking to another friend, and we were talking about how, and I don't want to offend anyone, but how a lot of therapy, as it stands in the sort of, mental institution sort of ways now, is very limiting, because it doesn't give the freedom for the person to go into the really wherever they need to go. We're trying to stop your crazy, right? So we can't let you go where you need to go to come back, and trust that there is that human to come back to. Now, obviously that's extreme things, but I'm just thinking in general, it's like, oh yeah, I've got this problem, I'm having this family issue, blah, 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 blah. There's no room in a lot of these sort of therapy things for people to grasp that higher power. Now, that they do have breakthroughs, and they do, but eventually there's sort of a limit. Just and I guess it depends how much and what you want, but in me, and I know in you, we just don't seem to be able to sit at that and be satisfied.
Always more, always diving deeper, expanding.
It feels like I'm still being held too much, and I need that expansion, which means getting comfortable with doing weird stuff, letting yourself speak light language, letting yourself open up and do weird movements and dances, and playing with vortexes and energy. And I talk with my hands a lot. It's a natural part of what wants to happen, but I know that I'm conveying energy. There's movement in energy. There's even movement in me. It may, you pick it up, you'll get it, or you don't, but you know what I mean? It's just something I've always done, and it's near impossible to not do.
You can't not do it. Whereas I like stare.
And because that would be treated as weird for somebody who didn't, even threatening, but when it's that understanding, hang on, you're following the energy, what are you doing? You through the layering, you're seeing the 5 different stories happening at once that are all pulling together to weave this, or our expression, or how people are moving their energy and what they're actually doing, whether they're aware of it or not. It's that whole communication stuff that so many of us empath on, where we like, we become very like trying to buffer people. I know that was my thing, or we close up a lot, but we're aware of everybody's stuff. And that, or we're constantly feeling things and going from one thing and emotional and picking it all up. It's about strengthening that. That's becoming sort of more connected to the power in the expansive consciousness, that you're opening your DNA up so that your cells can take that in, plus letting this energy communication do what it does. The communication makes things happen. The communication goes into the universal workings. All right, so you are a part of that. You are energetically part of that. And so the more you expand and get beyond your own words or the words spoken by others, you get to that power, and then you start to surrender to, I don't really have any words. I don't even know. I just know I can feel it in my body. I can feel something dropping in. I can feel myself expanding. I
feel an emotion. You can get overwhelmed by emotion. Like often at times when you feel like God tears, people have called them things like that, when you just overwhelmed by this love feeling or this joy feeling or whatever, and you just like your eyes start streaming, or your heart just feels like it just exploded wide open. and you just feel everything. So,
and it sort of comes back to the saying I've always said for a long, well, not always said it,
for as long as you can remember.
As long as I can remember when it became my thing, when I moved to a certain level of understanding, was the fact that you have to instand to understand, which is basically saying get into the power and the words will come, or the understanding will come, comprehension will come, experience will happen, doing an action will have a motivation and it will come, because that's the understanding. But you had to just stand in it, be in that stillness, or allow that. And stillness doesn't mean that you're being still. You might be on the move for all I know, but you're in that ability to kind of see the different without seeing, feeling, knowing that there's these different, and you're slowing down and getting the streams of light and energy and communication, which go well beyond what is light, what is sound, what is, but it comes as a currency or a current, and then it becomes particles and molecules and physical, right? So there's a step down, and then it links in with other people's particles and molecules and movements and creates story, and we wrap our words around it. And the truth of it is we've separated so much by creating multiple languages, multiple ways of saying the same thing. And where is it that it's at that heart power and body power that we can actually start to really feel what is it that's being conveyed here? So we really have to start to learn to strengthen our energy and eradicate our problems, so to speak, open up the DNA that will lift us and bring on board that new technology, or that 5D technology, let's call it, so that we can actually communicate more. So we've kind of got to open up. And so there is a period of time where you're kind of protective of yourself, because you have to kind of push all that
there's
away.
A lot of shit.
There's so much noise, so much happening on your body. You have to kind of go through that period, 12-year period for me, of, trying to sort of
separate what is true and what is you and what is for you, as opposed to what is just noise and frequency around that is inexistent, that is not necessarily for you right now. And it's like, what is your frequency and what's right for you? At this point in time, it can be right, this little packet here is totally fine for you, but then next week it's like, no, you want this packet here. So it's like knowing what is right and true for you in the moment, that fits with where you're at, to support you in your ascension. Leaving all that is no longer serving you behind, not dragging everything with you, because there is a bombardment of energy and communication constantly, and it overwhelms us. It puts our nervous system into that fight, flight, freeze, fawn, and we're constantly running like that. And when, you can't make choices and things from that energy state, because you're overwhelmed, and then you just take whatever you feel in that moment that's the most strongest or the loudest or the easiest to just go with the flow in that sense. But when you come back to that center point of your truth and your energy signature and the power within you, then all of those things drop away once you've had that space and time to feel what is you, and to know what is you and what you want to choose for this life and this existence. So the true growth is the ability to come into the heart of the power, the word of the power, and not sort of search for the words, search for the power, search for the central points of that, and let that energize you and communicate with you and open up and communicate with it'll communicate with your DNA, with your cells. It'll start a whole process of movement and change and transformation, which is actually strengthening you to be able to then 100%. Go out into the world and communicate to the people, right? Start to actually have those words. Oh, hearing that. It just happened. Because that's the thing. It's the awareness of all this layering and reverberation. Is this just an echo, or is this
at the center point, something I can hear? Is this just an imprint and, you know, of a story? But what's beyond the story? So yeah, what is that, you know, getting beyond the words? And I don't know what the Bible thing is. First there was the word. The problem is that's a hijacked word. That, you know, we start thinking of it as language and written. But it's so good to use your language and for your hearing when you've sort of been sitting in this energy for a while, or something's been moving and it's been unfolding over so many days, like it has with this, just this, you know, and then to start speaking the words of it helps to really consolidate it, bring it into the body, bring that consciousness. It's like that consciousness is now coming into you and giving it some power to talk. The power of the word can now come through. Yeah. So I'm just I don't know. I feel like I'm like, oh, I feel a bit dazed in myself. What were we talking about? Well, that's when I know that there's this, what I call the blank, but that blank is space. It's like, oh, you just moved some shit out, and now give it time. That consciousness now needs to kind of get to know you and you it, if you know what I mean, as it's embodying. Yeah, and it just needs time. Truth be told, you know, we bring everything down into a slower way here, hence why we're trying to move, or we aren't trying, we are moving towards a faster frequency, which will be the 5D. The irony is you have to slow down the busy in order to speed up what is a much more cleaner way of being. But you got to go slow down the busy in order to really see where's the stagnant spots, where's this, where's that. Because when you're in busy mode, you don't stop and look at what is stagnant. You don't stop and look at what else there is. What am I feeling? How am I feeling? How am I operating? What am I feeling I should be going and doing and being? Maybe I need to do some sound healing. Maybe I need to go speak to a counselor, but change the counselor I'm with, because I need someone who's been doing some other work that has this power behind their words. They may still have this same process that therapist has, but they have an entire added communication, well, they have a reflection of how your power could be, you know, that feeling. Yeah.
When they come from their power and their true center, they'll bring that into every session with every client within the system and structure of the counseling as such, but they will take it beyond with each client and each individual, because that is their true nature.
As will anybody in any job anywhere, when they've got this kind of power force happening, right, opening up, and the power is coming through the heart. They're connected to the heart of the power, and that power is coming through their heart. They're connected to the word of the power, and that power is coming through their words. And there's another one. They're connected to the body of the power. I don't know what it is, but I know it's down here. It's not a sharp little thing. It's a communication. It's like from your belly to my pelvis to your pelvis. I wouldn't call it womb or anything. I just exploring that one. Still not fully there myself, but I've opened the door.
You're instanding.
I'm instanding. I'm definitely
feeling, and allowing.
What is the next level of this kind of movement in my body, and how it can operate? What technology am I wanting to switch on in my body that communicates? I want to say differently, but it's only differently to how humans have been operating.
Yeah,
not different
than what we used to. Different than what the human
used
to. Yeah. Definitely.
How are you feeling? Like we've come to the end?
Anything
to add?
I feel complete. There's enough energy and information, I feel, for that to be either those two stand in it themselves and they can reach out.
That's what I feel like. Oh, I'm just sitting in that now. Whatever that is, letting your words, our words, that energy, and that's what I'd say to you, let that just permeate, let it do what it needs to do. And you're in the power, and you may have some revelations and inspirations and words and movement from that afterwards. In fact, you will, if that's what you're looking for.
100%.
If you're looking to stop that, you probably wouldn't even be listening to this video.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, trusting in where you are and why you're there. You're there because you're supposed to be.
Exactly. Yeah. So definitely enjoy in standing in the word of the power.
So you got to think a little
I
bit.
know.
Funny. You want to say the power of the word, and you're like, no, on the word of the power. So you can feel that it is it feels unnatural,
it takes effort.
But then when I feel into it, I'm like, but it feels super like right. So it
takes effort for the mind.
Yeah.
But like you say, when you feel the energy of it, then it feels right.
So it is sort of cutting through something, you know, I can feel just when you say it like that. So yeah, my suggestion is to say to yourselves, you know,
say it out loud in your own
feeling
voice.
The power or the words of the power. It's, you know, it's rather than the power of the words of the power, and allowing that sort of central power to come through you as words. But first you feel the power, words will come.
Yes. And
the words might not even come the way you think, that you come up with an idea or speak them. Somebody else may say the words to you and you're just like, that was what I was feeling. Yes. That was what I like. The communication of this oneness and how it all kind of moves. Exciting stuff. All right. Thank you, my beautifuls. Thank you to your mystic selves for turning up, and let us know in the comments any thoughts, feelings, and vibrations you want to share.
Love it. Thank you.
Loved you all.
And thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We're gonna find the end button. Bye. I should just press stop.